Hey, everybody, welcome back to the High Performance Zone. Today, I have Shelly Lefkoe. Let me tell you, we just had an amazing conversation about how do you eliminate limiting beliefs. This goes deep. What she's going to talk about is a process. And actually, I was the guinea pig, but a process to finally let go of limiting beliefs that are holding you back and launch you into freedom. This is awesome. Here we go. Ready? Hit it. Hey, everybody, we're just going to dive in. Today, I have Shelly Lefkoe. She's one of the top experts in the world on how to eliminate limiting beliefs. Shelly, I'm so excited to dive in today so we can talk about how we overcome some limiting beliefs. Glad to be here.
Me too. I've been looking forward to talking to you.
Shelly, what's your background? Give me a little bit of what got you passionate about this?
Well, it's interesting. So about 30 years ago, my late husband was he was on what he calls a spiritual intellectual journey, where he was looking at why people know what to do and don't do it, or why they know not to do something and do it. So, we all know, Gucci, if we ate better, if we exercised, we'd live longer, we'd feel better. And yet so many of us don't go to the gym or don't work out or don't take care of our bodies. Or we know, we want to be an entrepreneur and we're working in a corporate job and we hate it. And we know we'll be happier, but we don't do it. We don't leave. And he was on a plane going to California to pitch a client he was consulting at the time, and he started journaling. And at the end of the flight, he had created this process, which he says he downloaded because he's very modest. He was, right. But he created a process and he came up with the idea. And now today, this is like old news. 30 years ago, when I used to say to people, Gucci, what do you do? And I'd say, I help people get rid of the beliefs that keep them from having the lives that they want. They'd say, beliefs? You mean like religious beliefs? Like, what do you mean beliefs? Today, right. Everybody knows you can't make change if you don't get rid of beliefs. Yeah. So he came home and he said, and he did the process with the people that he was pitching. He got the job on the spot. They were supposed to see other people and didn't. And it was how to get people on unemployment back into the workforce. And the state of California was paying for this initiative. So he got the job. Yeah.
So let's dive into the key, because you got me excited right now.
So wait, so he comes home, he does the process with somebody. He says, I got to show you what I created. He did the process with someone. She had a pattern. She wanted to be married again. And he said, what do you believe about men? And she started saying, marriage is suffocating and men are blah, blah, blah. And I watched him help her eliminate a belief. And it was one of those spiritual moments in life where I said, oh my God, that is why I'm on this planet. I am here to do that. It was the most powerful moment of my life, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. And the essence of that is what? Serving people, helping people by eliminating things that are holding them back? Is that what
having people be free to be their authentic selves. I watch workaholics. I work with a lot of workaholics, right? And the beliefs that they have, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, but what makes me good enough and important are my achievements. So now I have this beach ball, this belief, I'm not good enough, and I have to keep it underwater. So I have to keep working and working and working and working. And one guy said to me, Shelly, I'm worth $10 million. I don't know my kids. My second wife is ready to divorce me. When is it going to be enough?
Yeah. So how did you help him? How did you help that person?
By helping him get rid of all his beliefs.
That were holding him back.
Yeah. He said, I'm on the cover of business publications. He said, it's never enough. And that's the thing. I will tell you how beliefs get formed, what the most common beliefs are, but underlying every pattern. So a pattern is what you want to change. A pattern is observable. Nobody cares about eliminating beliefs. They want to get rid of patterns. So patterns are, I had a client recently, this was so great. 10 years ago, he called me and he said, I'm stuck in this corporate job. I hate it. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start my own business, and I just don't do it. So his belief, his father told him that corporate jobs were safe. Being an entrepreneur was not.
Okay.
He got rid of that belief and a couple of others, and he started his own business. And 10 years later, about a month ago, he called me and said, I have a new problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, my business is worth $26 million and I want to buy my partner out. And I'm stuck. So I worked with him.
Wow, that's a good problem to have. I like that. So let's dive into some common beliefs.
Yep.
And then let's take me through the process. I would love to see you do that.
So I did that once before. I did a couple of times actually on a podcast. It's going to take a while. So just so you know, it's going to take at least 20, 25 minutes to go through it. And you can either do it with me. So I'll give you an example of, do you know Sharkpreneur?
What's that? The shark?
Sharkpreneur.
No.
Okay. So the guy in Sharkpreneur is also a business podcast that I did.
Okay.
And he had a belief. So he was supposed to sing with his daughter in some kind of father-daughter thing. And he was terrified. He didn't want to do it. It was horrible. When he was a kid, every time he sang, his father would say, oh, stop singing. I can't listen to you anymore. He concluded all kinds of things. Singing was dangerous, or that people wouldn't like it, or that he didn't have a good voice. And he got rid of whatever the belief was, and on the air. So you can either do it with me or not. If you do it with me, you're going to have to be really transparent. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So let me just see if I want to give any.
Let's give some context first, and then we'll dive in,
yeah.
right? So let's go back to, what have you seen that certain beliefs that you see in so many people time and time again that are holding them back, that you want to actually overcome?
Perfect. So I'm going to give you, and I am going to, this is the biggest, most important thing if I'm going to actually do the process with everyone. I just did it with 750 people on a call. And I'm going to actually give everyone at the end a way to do that, to be able to do this.
Beautiful.
On your own.
Beautiful.
You may know that your beliefs are silly. I have worked with, and this could kill my credibility if it wasn't true, 5 Harvard PhDs, Gucci, who had the belief, I'm stupid. So they knew they weren't stupid. They have a PhD from Harvard, but they still believe it. So when I do this process, if I say to you, do you have this belief? You say, oh, I know that's not true. I'm going to show you how to know whether or not you have a belief. Okay. Right.
That's important, because I was just thinking about, sometimes people, including myself, we might not know what's holding us back. Right. And so you have a way of kind of unpacking that.
Yes. So, so when you work with me, or we have a program that has 19 of the most common beliefs that you can do with a video that I'm going to talk about. But when I work with you, I will say, what is your pattern? What do you want to change? And I'll get you very clear. I procrastinate. I have a fear of public speaking. We can get rid of fear of public speaking in 4 or 5 sessions, no problem. It used
That's
to be
not my problem right now. I love public speaking, but it always cracks me up how you hear these stats that say that's the #1 fear of a lot of people.
Do you know what Jerry Seinfeld said?
No, what?
Oh, this is so great. So Jerry Seinfeld said, let me get something straight. More people in this country have a fear of public speaking. It's the number one fear in the country, which means they have a bigger fear of public speaking than death. So he goes, well, that means that at a funeral, you would rather be in the coffin than doing the eulogy.
Wow, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's surprising, but go ahead. So yeah.
It's just beliefs. There are fear of public speaking is the only pattern I work on that has the same beliefs for every single person. The same beliefs. We used to do it as a niche, but I got so bored because it was the same beliefs all the time. So I stopped doing it. I mean, I still work with people. We just don't advertise it anymore. But whether it's procrastination, fear of public speaking, fear of cold calls, sales stuff. And there are CEOs, very high performers who no one knows who have a fear of public speaking. There are high performers who live in dread fear that it's all going to turn to shit, pardon my language, the next day. You know, there are very high performers who still think that they're not smart enough and they're proving it and proving it. And they have to prove it. And they can't enjoy their lives because when you constantly have to prove something, again, this is where I talk about freedom. You know, if you're worried about so I'm going to tell you the 5 most common beliefs, because if you go through this, I want you to pick one of these. So everybody, before I say this, I want everybody listening to take a deep breath. And I want you to say these words out loud. I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough. I'll be your thing. Okay.
Okay, so say it and then don't say anything.
I'm not good enough.
Now say, I'm a monkey.
I'm a monkey.
So obviously, when you say I'm a monkey, that either feels silly or it feels flat. It doesn't have any emotion. If you say I'm not good enough and there's energy, doesn't feel good, or like you want to talk, or it just doesn't feel good to say, then you have the belief, because beliefs are just words. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I'm not important. They're just words. But when you believe them, they don't feel good when you say them. Once you form the beliefs, and I'll tell you in a second really quickly how beliefs get formed. Once you have a belief, I'm not good enough. Nobody wants to walk around with that. So we have what we call survival strategy beliefs.
Yep.
So if you're the oldest of 10, what do you think you get acknowledged for? What do your parents appreciate if you're the oldest of 10?
Well, that you look after the other kids, that you
Exactly.
the way.
Exactly. So what those people conclude is what makes me good enough is taking care of people. And they become nurses or doctors or healthcare professionals.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. If you get acknowledged for, listen, Gucci's audience, if you get acknowledged for A's or goals, you're going to conclude what makes me good enough is achieving things. And then you become a workaholic. You are a human being, not a human doing. And when my husband died, what people said about him was he was the most loving man, the most non-judgmental man. My daughter said, I not only knew I was loved unconditionally every day of my life, but I never felt judged by my father.
Wow.
He was present. He made you feel important. Nobody said he went to the University of Chicago. Nobody said he wrote 3 books. That's not what people care about. So for all the high performers listening, I talk about watering all the plants. So if you
say that again, watering all the plants.
Yeah. So if you had a lot of plants in your house, you would never water just one, right? Because the others would die.
It's a great analogy.
But a lot of high performers water this work this achievement plant, and they
Yeah.
forget about their relationships and their bodies and their kids and their hobbies. And all of those plants, all of those parts of their lives are limp and dying, but this flourishing, high performing, and again, I'm not saying don't be a high performer. It's exciting. It's wonderful. It's, if you're passionate about what you're doing, it's the best. But I want to tell you something. I play pickleball almost every day.
Oh, good.
Last night I went salsa dancing and it was so fun. I am going to be with I just spent a month in Hawaii with my daughter and my grandson.
Oh,
I worked half days. I had my sessions early in the morning on the deck. I'm watering all the plants in my life. My friends, I am the best friend you could ever have. People say to me, how do you do so much and you're still a great friend? Because that's my value, right?
yeah.
And my belief is that friendship is everything. So we live our lives consistent with our beliefs.
Perfect.
And
So
most of our beliefs, go ahead.
Well, that's the pattern you can see, right? We live our lives consistent with our beliefs. So if there's a certain pattern, you can unpack some of those beliefs.
Totally.
Okay.
And they're mostly unconscious. That's what I wanted to say. They're mostly unconscious. We don't know we have them.
Yeah.
And you could disagree with them. You could say, I once heard myself years and years and years ago. I'm so embarrassed to tell this, but I will. I once heard myself, I was making my husband wrong because our business wasn't thriving and he was spending too much money and I wasn't working. I was raising my kids. And my girlfriend said something like, well, where's your responsibility in all this?
Nice.
And I said, men are supposed to take care of women.
Ah.
And that just like came out of my mouth. And it was like, wow. Here's another one. Before we start, I want to say this one last one.
Yeah.
The 5 most common beliefs. I'm not good enough. Everybody has that belief pretty much. I'm not important.
Okay.
Mistakes and failures are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Gucci, you could read every book, every business book, Fail Forward. Richard Branson says, if you're not making mistakes, lots of mistakes, you're going to be mediocre, because if you're not failing, you're doing what you did yesterday and you'll never be successful doing what you did yesterday, right? Doesn't matter. When you do this process with me, you are going to see why our beliefs stay with us throughout our whole lives, even if I was one of those people. I knew every saying about mistakes and failures and blah, blah, blah. Didn't matter. I still had the belief. So if I make a mistake or fail, I'll be rejected. And what makes me good enough is having other people think well of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the belief that ran my life. When I got rid of the belief, I'm going to say it again, what makes me good enough is having other people think well of me.
Mm-hmm.
I became my authentic self. What you see is what you get. When I speak in public, when I'm meeting you, when I'm meeting, whoever it is, I don't care how high. I've worked with very, very, very high performers, right? I've done podcasts. Mark Hyman's podcast has 25 million downloads. I'm like,
whose podcast was that?
Mark Hyman, the doctor of pharmacy. Yeah, he's a good friend and a client. And on his podcast, he talked about his sessions with me, which I didn't expect, but it was pretty miraculous. Yeah. But the point is, I'm me. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I'm just and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Some people, and so I'll take feedback and I'll weigh it. Does it make sense? I always want to grow and be the best me I can be.
Yes.
But I no longer define myself based on what others think.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know, the idea I like to put out is this mindset of high performance. And one is to learn, grow, and give. So every day, what can we learn? How can we grow? But you got to add the giving in there, right? You know, right now you're giving your time. We both are. And it's to help others on the thing. So that learn, grow, give mentality. But I'm wondering what underlines that. Is it some of these beliefs that you're bringing up, right? That it's, yeah.
If you think money, if you believe money is scarce and hard to get,
Yeah.
and have to hold on to it for a rainy day, are you going to be philanthropic?
No.
If you believe people are out to get me, people are selfish, people don't care about me, again, you're not going to be a giver. So, you know, people think, oh, that's a horrible person. We did a study with incarcerated men who were getting out of prison. And we produced statistically significant behavior changes. And I'll tell you something, this is not for your audience, but it's so fascinating. A wife beater. Do you know what he believed? If you do something wrong, you deserve to be punished. And the way to be punished is to beat.
Jeez.
That's what happened to him when he was a kid. He wasn't a bad person. He just had that belief. Another
where are these beliefs formed? You mentioned
okay,
it
good.
as a child. We probably and environment and social. I mean, so how are beliefs formed? Where are they typically?
Okay, we'll do this and then we'll do the process. So we'll have
Good. Let's do it.
Do you have kids?
No, I've always wanted to. Maybe someday. We'll see.
Okay. So when I ask people who have children, everybody listening, if you have young children, what do your kids do when you walk in the house at the end of the day? And everybody, I have clients in Uganda, and everybody says they run to me. And I say, what do they want? And this is what, Coochie, every parent says: affection, attention, and acknowledgement.
Oh.
Now, what is the one word question every child asks all day long, little kids?
I don't know. Am I loved?
No, one word question.
Oh.
So if you tell a kid, no, you can't, what do they want to know?
Why?
Why is the sky blue? Why do you have to go to work? Why can't I have dessert? Why do I have to go to bed? Why won't you play with me? Why don't you love me? Why can't I have why can't they ask why all day long? Drives parents crazy, right? So watch this. If a parent criticizes, now I don't want you to feel guilty. There's no such thing as the perfect parent. Everybody listening, this is all reversible. So parent criticizes their child, right? What's wrong with you? How many times do I have to tell you? Stop it. Get over here. Why can't they don't get an A? They don't score a goal. All you high performers who drive your kids crazy, I'm going to show you what's going to be the cost of it. Okay. And it was probably every high performer in sports that I talked to. I'm going to tell you, this is too perfect. So, and then I'm going to tell you how they're formed. So I'm playing pickleball. It's the sport where everybody is like, you score a point and the other person goes, great shot on the other team. It is the nicest sport in the planet. There's this one guy. And when he's a top player, and he's a sports coach, tennis coach, and he's playing pickleball, and he hits himself with the racket, like with the paddle, like this, stupid. And then I hear him one day, he goes, fuck, and he throws the paddle on the floor. So now I start talking to him, and he's the sweetest guy. And I say to him, I don't want to say his name, but and then I look at him, and I just, all of a sudden I said to him, oh, he says, I'm only like this in pickleball. So I said, I said, so your father was very hard on you when you were a kid, huh? And he goes, without missing a beat, brutal.
Mm.
So for all the people who on the way home from practice are harangued, what's the matter? You didn't play well and you weren't thinking, you weren't concentrating. So the kid says, why can't I live up to my father's expectations?
Mm.
Well, I guess I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you later why it stays with you, no matter how much evidence you have to the contrary. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Even when you intellectually know I shouldn't be thinking that way, it's still there.
Look at all the trophies, look at all the awards, but I made it onto the team. You know, I worked with a professional athlete. He said, Shelly, I got into the National Football League, whatever, NFL. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'm not good enough. So if you don't spend time with your children, why is my father or my mother looking at her iPhone while she's talking to me? Well, I guess I'm not important.
Right.
I guess what I have to say is not important.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you're hitting on some really deep stuff that I'm sure affects every single person listening, right? It doesn't matter whether it's in your own personal life, in your business, you can feel some of these things. What were the three things that kids want? They want attention, affection, attention, and what else?
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement. How about employees? How about people you work with?
Same.
Yep.
Same. Now, the difference is once you get rid of these beliefs,
Yep.
it might be nice. You might want it. You don't need it.
Wait, say that again.
If once you get rid of your beliefs,
Yeah.
you might want the attention, the affection, and the acknowledgement.
Oh, but you're
You
okay.
don't need it. You're okay.
Yeah, that's
Don't
big.
need it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
freedom. I keep coming back to freedom.
There you
This
go.
work is about freedom. I don't need it. I'm okay. And when you say, Shelly, you are a great podcast guest, I love it. I'm appreciative. But again, I'm not, if you said you were the worst podcast guest I ever had, I would feel terrible. I'd say, Gucci, tell me, what can I have done differently? But I wouldn't feel not good enough.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
There it is, because you've gotten rid of these. Yeah. I like that word freedom because I hear about the 6 perfections and one of them is wisdom. And I think wisdom gives us freedom. Freedom from pain, so things that are holding us back, causing us pain, and freedom to what we want, to really achieve what we want, right? Does that make sense?
Maybe.
Oh, I like you challenging me. Okay, tell me why. So if I have freedom, right, and if I can get rid of these limiting beliefs, all right,
Yes.
it gives me freedom from pain.
Totally.
Causing
but
myself.
what you said that I challenged was
Freedom
wisdom gives you freedom. Not
Oh, okay. Why would
necessarily.
tell me? Let's go for it real quick.
Okay, when we started years ago, we used to teach this equation. The way most people try to make change is by getting wisdom, information, right? I'm going to read books. I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to get all the information, and then I'm going to get motivated, and then I'm going to do it. Information plus motivation doesn't equal change, because my experience is most people who do these workshops and come out all jazzed and glazed over, 3 days later, Gooch, the notes are in the drawer. Nothing changes. Right. So we have a new equation: information plus motivation minus beliefs equals change.
Oh, I like it. I would also add, why don't you put plus or minus beliefs? Because what about liberating beliefs, right? But I know you're focused on the ones that are holding you back.
Yeah, I am. Because
I got it.
You say limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Any belief by definition is limiting, because if something is true, something's not.
Nice. Duality. Yeah, we got to go away from that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do something at the end, which is almost like a non-dual state.
Nice.
With people, which I can do if we get, started. It's a 2-minute thing, but it's cool.
Okay.
So you ready? You want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it because everyone who's listening can be doing it with us, right?
Right.
And I think that's the key is let's just be raw. Let's be open. Let's go for it. I'm all yours. I'm
Okay.
super excited, by the way.
Yay. Okay. So now you can have a belief. I urge you to work on I'm not good enough. Okay. If you worked with me, like a lot of people listening, maybe worked with me or did my program or, you know, I don't know, fell on a rock and you got rid of I'm not good enough. Whatever belief you hear in your head that's standing in your way, could be mistakes and failures are bad. It could be life is hard. I'll never get what I want, but I want to keep it simple for this demo. So I'm going to stay with I'm not good enough. If you're not doing that, just put in different words. Okay.
Okay. No, let's start with that. And because I bet you a lot of high performers, what you were saying, this is the underlying belief that's driving them to do, to keep performing. So I love it. Let's go for it.
Okay. And now, if you think you don't have I'm not good enough because you're a high performer, I want you to imagine you lose everything tomorrow, right? You have no money, not no money, but you don't have your millions. Everybody doesn't think you're walking on water because you're the blah, blah, blah of the blah, 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 right? Make believe tomorrow you have to drive an Uber. Would you still feel good enough?
Oh, that's the good test, right?
And if the answer is no, you still have the belief. And the only reason you're not in touch with it is because your survival strategy is working.
Yeah, exactly. We build up these strategies.
But it's driven. You don't have a choice. That's again, going back to freedom. You want to have a choice. You want to work 24/7 and not see your kids and, that's up to you. But choose because it's truly your choice. You're not choosing because you don't want to look at your true low self-esteem.
Yeah, that fear. So I think what I'm hearing you say is we may have fears deep inside of us that we're not aware of, maybe in the conscious brain. You even said it, right? A lot of these are subconscious fears. And by bringing them up and addressing them, well, you tell me, I'm getting too far.
No, I love you. I love that you didn't finish that sentence. That was brilliant. You are awesome. Oh my God, I love you. That was so good. That was because everybody says that. Oh, by just acknowledging it. No. Okay, you ready? Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so first question is, I want you to go back in time to the earliest memories of childhood where you might have concluded, I'm not good enough, or whatever belief you're working on, okay? So take a minute.
Yeah.
Just, if you can, write it down or just get it in your mind. What happened, okay? And it's not one event, so nobody's looking for, I don't remember a lot of specifics, memories, but I remember my father used to say to me, you don't use your head. And he was the most loving father in the world. He adored me, right? My mother did too much for me. She loved me so much. And I concluded I'm not capable. So what happened in your childhood? And I'll be quiet for 2 seconds.
What happened is an interesting story because it's very relevant. When I was young, my dad was at West Point when we were doing, he was an instructor there. And I love my dad, by the way, and my mom, had a great family. And there was these races that were going on. And I'm probably 4 years old at this point. And I remember my dad was like, just go race, go race. He just called me champ all the time, right? And I was like, this kid who's hanging on to his mom saying, no, dad, no, I don't want to do that. And I'm sure it was fear, right? So he actually gave up because he was trying to get me to go in. It was just a picnic with families. And so he went off to get a beer. And I remember I'm standing there and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see everyone lined up. I see a buddy in my mind. We'll call him Tommy. I don't remember the name, but I'm going, wait a minute, I can beat Tommy. I know I can outrace Tommy. So I ran in because I knew I wouldn't be last. So I think the fear was I was going to be last, embarrassed, whatever. But here's what happened, Shelly. I won the race as a little kid. And I went, well, that was kind of fun. And then we did the next race and I won that and the next one, and actually it turned into, holy cow, I actually like to compete. But I think the fear was.
Yeah, but I'm not asking you for fear.
Okay.
This is not a good story for
No,
this.
it's not a good one. Okay, let's go.
No,
Yeah, you got to find.
I'm not good enough. What? So did you?
You know what it probably was? This is being really raw.
Okay.
I wasn't dating a lot of girls in high school, right? And I was good an athlete and all that, but I wasn't. And so I'm sitting there going, why can't I get a girlfriend? Okay. I mean, and that probably impacted me. I don't know.
So here's my take on that. Most of us do not come from families where they're going where calling you champ and everything's great, and when you spill things they go, here's a sponge, and when you don't sit still in a restaurant they say, oh, I know you want to run around the restaurant but you can't. That's not how I have a parenting course where I teach skills and tools of how to empower your children. Most of us, when we spill, parents yell. When we drop things, parents yell. My daughter gets annoyed. She knows better. She was raised differently. And every once in a while, she'll look at my grandson and she'll say, dude. And I'll say, Blakey, stop it. And I'm there to tell my grandson, when mommy gets impatient, she gets impatient with everybody. She gets impatient with me. It's not you, right? You didn't do anything. So we don't have an Auntie Shelly or a Mimi there to tell you this stuff. So is there anything, grades or sports or anything where you?
I'm actually not trying to hold back because I think we're trying to really get to something deep. I had a great childhood and sports went really well. Grades went really well. I had that support. I felt safe at home. And so it's interesting because I've done some of this work before and I'm really trying to get deep. Was there a wound? I can't remember.
Yeah, I had a great childhood too. I'm not a big wound. I'm not an inner child person and I don't subscribe to any of that. But here's what I'm going to do this only for time's sake.
Please.
With this, you not being able to get girls. Okay, we'll work on that. But for everyone else, because if you believe you are good enough, and by the time you don't get girls, generally you'd say, well, it must be something with the girls, must be something I'm doing wrong. Or it's very rare that as a teenager, you suddenly wake up and go, I'm not good enough. But I will go with it. If I was working with you, I probably wouldn't, but I will. So for everyone else, I want you to come up with something from childhood where your parents either made a face or, just got upset with you, whether, again, it was about performing or spilling or dropping or comparing you to others.
I got something that may work. And my sister and I used to fight all the time. She was 2 years older. And I used to I wanted to be, around her. I'm the little brother that's kind of hanging out. And we would draw a line in the backseat of the car and she would always antagonize me. But then I would cross the line and then my dad would be like, hey, what are you doing? And he'd always say, get with the program. So that was a nice way of, I say this nice way because I knew I was out of bounds. When dad said, get with the program, I knew I was out of bounds. Now, I don't know if you want to work with that, but maybe that's something. I don't know.
Well, I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to assume you're
63.
Stop it.
I know, huh? See, now here's where you go. I like compliments. I mean, I like that. And maybe it drives me. It's not the only reason. I'm really more kind of comfortable, but go ahead.
Yeah. So you're 63. I was going to say 42. You're 63.
Oh, you're good. Let's keep you going.
Wait, you're 63, Gooch, and this memory comes up for you.
Okay.
So, it's not negligible.
Which one? Which memory?
Being in the car with your sister.
Oh, yeah. No,
40 years
I
later,
remember that
right?
many times. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do both.
Okay.
So, all right. Now, everybody hopefully has a source of where your belief came from. Okay. Now, wouldn't it make sense to conclude I'm not good enough given? Now, normally I also have people write down something they want to change in their life, but we're just going to do pure, simple, eliminate a belief. Wouldn't it make sense that under those circumstances, you would conclude I'm not good enough? So we're going to stay with the dating the girls because that'll be easy.
Okay.
So why else wouldn't you live up to your mother and father's expectations? Now, I want you to not say anything yet, and then because I'll work with you. So one interpretation, I'm going to give you a whole bunch. One way, so we're making believe we're watching a video and we see you getting grades that your parents don't like. We see you not scoring goals or not getting on the team. We see your parents getting annoyed or angry or, now this is going to be, everybody's going to be very different. We're going to have people who's like my father said, you don't use your head. And we're going to have people who were beaten, who were punished. I had a client this morning who used to be grounded for months for not obeying. So no, it doesn't matter. So one interpretation is you're not good enough. And that's why you didn't live up to their expectations. Okay. Let me just do it a little bit with your first one and then we'll go to the second one. Why else do you think you fought with your sister and your father got angry at you other than you're not good enough? What's another interpretation that would explain your behavior? And the fact that
why he got mad or explain my behavior?
Either.
Well, because I was acting up, causing a scene in the back of the car, and not being with the program,
Okay. So one interpretation is it's not that you're not good enough. You just didn't follow your father's program.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you don't really care about your father's program.
Yep.
So one interpretation is parents have unrealistic expectations of children.
Oh, okay. Now I see. I got it.
Children fight with their siblings.
Yeah.
Period. They just do. Children, I always ask parents, do you excel at everything? I've never gotten a yes yet. But children are expected to get straight A's. Parents do not necessarily excel in sports, but they expect their child to.
There you go. Yeah, I think I'm with you now with expectations, because what's going to my mind is, and I do want to still work on my issues, but is we do this in the work environment all the time, right?
Yeah.
In personal relationships.
Yeah. So wait, don't go there. Don't go there yet.
Okay, go.
I want people to stay very focused on where they are. So one interpretation is, even if you weren't good enough by your parents' standards, that doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Okay.
And for those of you who didn't do well in school, you could have had a different learning style. You were in a class with 30 kids. My kids went to a school with no grades, no tests, no homework, and 5 kids in their math class. Very different. You got the attention you wanted. You learned in your learning style. So school is another whole conversation. So if you didn't do well in school, it could have been you were in a horrible learning environment. It wasn't that you weren't good enough. And your grades have nothing to do with your good enoughness, right? Your values have to do who you are. So now let's go to girls. Why do you think you couldn't get girls? Because you are as charming as, I'm not going to say what.
No. Like, actually, I was kind of small for my size. So what do I think? I was small, and I was.
Okay, so wait. One interpretation is You were small for your size, and that's why you didn't get girls, not because you weren't good enough. What's
Okay.
another interpretation?
Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean,
What you doing? You hadn't learned how to approach women, or, you
no,
know, you just didn't know what you were doing yet. Is that a valid interpretation?
absolutely.
One more.
Um, that wasn't attractive to somebody else, even though I don't believe that. I think we're all attractive to somebody.
Right. But even if those girls didn't think you were attractive, that doesn't mean that
Right.
you're not, and other girls wouldn't. I would date you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
You're what tomorrow morning at
I
6?
said I would date you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. You are, I mean, we'll
Oh,
talk.
you're so cute. Thank you. That's
We'll
amazing.
talk. So just because those girls didn't, doesn't mean nobody would, right?
Okay, got it.
And maybe you weren't good enough then. It doesn't mean you're not going to be good enough now. And maybe
Exactly.
you were good enough and you hadn't come into yourself yet, right?
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah.
People always say to me, were you always this confident? If I went out with, if a guy didn't want to go out with me, I go, what's wrong with me? Why didn't he go out with me? I went out with a guy recently, and at the end of the conversation, he said, it was very nice meeting you. And the voice in my head said, you don't want to go out with me? Are you insane?
Beautiful.
But I wasn't always there, right?
Yeah.
So if there are other valid interpretations,
yeah,
for all of you, is what you said, I'm not good enough, the truth, or simply one valid interpretation? Is it the truth or one interpretation?
Yeah, I like what you label in the truth.
Wait,
right?
I'm asking you, is I'm not good enough the truth?
No. That's just one
One
perception.
interpretation. All right, everybody, I want you to get that. Your belief was just one interpretation. So if you're looking at, I'm not important, and you were ignored all the time, maybe you weren't important to your parents, doesn't mean you're not important. Maybe they just were busy. So it's one interpretation. Now, here's the juice. Doesn't it seem like as a child, you saw, I'm not good enough?
Say again, I'm trying to.
Doesn't it think, yeah, yours is a little iffy, but doesn't it seem like you saw, I'm not good enough? Like if we were there, you could have said, see, I'm not good enough.
I see you're saying, yeah, mentally in my own mind.
Right. So everybody thinks, not in your own mind, but that you saw it out in the world. Like I saw, I'm not good enough.
Okay.
Good. Now, I'm going to ask the question a second time, which is when people say, well, what do you mean? First time they say, yes, I saw, I'm not good enough.
Okay.
Did you ever really see, I'm not good enough?
No.
Good. Now look at me. If you're listening to the podcast instead of watching, I'm holding up my water bottle. So does this have a color,
Purple.
shape,
Yep.
and location?
Yep.
Anything you could see has a color, shape, and location.
Okay.
Did you ever see, I'm not good enough?
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
So I want everybody to get that, because people argue with me, they fight with me. I just did a workshop in Vietnam with 100 people, and this woman stood up and she kept screaming, but I saw it, but I saw it. And I'll tell you what she saw in a minute. You can't see, I'm not good enough.
Right.
But what did you see, Gucci?
Well, we built a story, maybe.
No, but what did you see? See, because you can't not believe something you think you saw.
Right.
So what did you actually see?
An impression in my mind.
No, what did you see out in the world that led you to conclude I'm not good enough?
Well, I wasn't getting dates when I was young in high school.
Perfect. I can see a young high school kid not getting dates.
Yep.
That is, everybody watching that video can see that. I can see you fighting with your sister and your father says, get with the program. So for everybody listening, I can see whatever it was that caused you to have this belief. I could see your failing grades. I could see you not score goals, not make the team. I could see your parents yelling at you, annoyed with you, comparing you. Whatever it is that you wrote down, I can see that.
I didn't get that. Could you?
Where was I'm not good enough? If it wasn't out there to be seen, where was it?
It's in my mind. Yeah.
So the only place I'm not good enough ever existed was in your mind. You made it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, so I want everybody to get that, because when you get, oh my God, Santa Claus is my father, that belief goes away. I never saw that there's a Santa Claus. I made that up. That belief goes away, never comes back. I never saw I'm not good enough. I saw being in a certain school at a certain time, having certain grades, and my parents getting angry. I saw spilling milk and my father yelling at me. I saw not being able to ride a bicycle. I saw not getting dates in a certain high school at a certain time when I was a certain age. That is seeable. And the only place your belief lives, life is hard. I could see my parents struggling, but you can't see life is hard. Money is scarce and hard to get. I could see my parents not being able to pay bills, but you can't see money is scarce and hard to get. So now I'm going to make a distinction. We're almost done. Consequences versus meaning.
Okay.
So the consequences of not being able to get a date sucks. You had nobody to take to the prom, or you didn't go out with your friend, whatever. There were consequences. Maybe you didn't have sex. There's consequences. I'm not, now listen, everybody. If your parents hit you or withdrew, took themselves away, were busy all the time, the consequences were you didn't feel loved, you didn't feel safe, you didn't feel whatever. I'm not minimizing the consequences. You're going to love this. But I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want you to answer it, okay?
Okay.
What does it really mean? What do I know for sure? Because your father used to say, get with the program, and you couldn't get dates in high school, or didn't get dates. So everybody, what does it mean that you didn't live up to your parents' expectations? What does it mean that whatever happened to you as a child happened? You were put up for adoption, you were sexually abused, whatever it was. I work with a lot of sexual abuse survivors. What does it mean? Now, if you're in a room and somebody you know comes over to you and doesn't say hello, everybody, what might you automatically think? Anything. Just come up with a.
Oh yeah, they're ignoring me, or
They're
they don't
ignoring
like
me.
me.
They're ignoring me. They don't like me. They're rude. They're preoccupied. They're nasty people. Whatever you came up with just now is meaning. Where does meaning come from?
Ourselves, from that belief.
No, yes, that's true, but we're not going to talk about that. But where does meaning come from? Where does it get formed?
In our minds.
Yes. Not in here, in here.
Oh, I see, because I touched here. Yeah, that's
People
what
do that. Yeah, no, meaning comes from your mind.
I like it. Okay.
If meaning comes from your mind, do events have inherent meaning?
Only
Nope.
Well, I would say ultimately no, but we create meaning for
Well,
it.
we either do or we don't. I have a course that's 10 weeks long, that the end of which people come out like gurus. My husband almost never gave meaning to anything towards the end of his life.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to show you something. I'm going to teach you a tool in a minute.
Please.
So all meaning is in your mind. If meaning is in your mind, events do not have meaning. No event has meaning. That's not to say it doesn't matter. My husband died. He was the most exquisite man on the planet. I missed
You said that was, what was his name? Marty, was it?
Morty.
In
Morty.
2015? What was it?
Yep, Morty.
Morty. I
Yeah.
love the way you still bring him up and you can see the love in your eyes. You can just see the joy.
So what? So Morty died,
Yeah.
was devastating, but it doesn't, and this was what I had to work on. I don't know how to I didn't know how to run a business.
Right.
I can work with anybody under any run a business, not even remotely interested.
Yes.
So the meaning I gave his death was, I'm going to starve to death.
Ah.
Now, his death did not mean that, evidenced by the fact 7 years later, my business is thriving. Okay. So and I'm going to show you what I did when he died. But the fact that he died doesn't mean I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. It doesn't mean I'm never going to be happy again. It doesn't mean I'm never going to have fun again. The events have no meaning. If your business goes under, we went bankrupt. I lost my magnificent home in Westport, Connecticut with the swimming pool. My mother called it the movie star house with her New York accent. Lost my house, went into debt. Does not mean I'm going to starve to death. I'm never going to have a good life. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. So what does it mean that what happened to you happened to you? What does it mean? What do I know for sure? Because you couldn't get dates in high school. What meaning does that have?
Well, only the meaning I give it, right? So
So I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Listen,
Say again.
the events do not have the meaning you gave them.
Right.
The meaning you gave them was in your mind. And after you give the events meaning, they have that meaning for you, but the events don't have that meaning.
Absolutely. Got it.
Okay, good. So what do the events mean? What does it mean that you couldn't get a girl in high school?
It means nothing.
It has no meaning. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah. So why am I still holding on to that? Right.
Well, let's ask. Did you ever see that you're not good enough?
Yeah. I saw it in not getting certain
Perfect.
dates.
That's why the belief didn't go away. So
Okay.
did you ever see
Oh.
I'm not good enough?
In reality, no, because that was a fake. That was
Listen, I live in reality.
Yeah.
I don't live any place but reality.
Okay.
You never saw that you're not good enough. Okay, now, what does it mean? What does it mean that you didn't get dates in high school?
Nothing.
Nothing. Now we could look at, I'm not what women want, or I'm whatever else. You never saw, all you saw was some girls not go out with you when you were a kid, period. And it could have meant they were intimidated by you. It could have meant you weren't their religion. It could have meant, but the fact that they didn't doesn't mean anything. The fact that your father criticized you has no meaning. We don't know anything about you. If you failed every subject in school, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. Events have no meaning. Now, last step. Doesn't it seem like the fact that the girls didn't want to go out with you made you feel not good enough?
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like whatever happened to you as a kid made you feel not good enough? Right? Your father's screaming at you because you didn't score a goal or you didn't get an A.
Yeah.
Can events that have no meaning make you feel anything?
No, that's the key. Yeah.
Brilliant. Now watch this. I'm going to make that real because you got that very fast. If you're walking down the street, everybody listen. If you're walking down the street and a man walks past you and it has no meaning, what are you going to feel?
Nothing.
Nothing. If you give it the meaning, he's dangerous, what are you going to feel?
Scared.
If
Yeah.
you give it the meaning, he'll protect me, what are you going to feel?
Confident. Yeah.
Perfect. Safe. So events that have no meaning cannot make you feel anything. So what made you feel not good enough?
How I labeled it. Yeah.
The meaning you gave the events.
Yeah.
So listen, everyone, all of our emotions come from the meaning you give meaningless events.
Oh, that's big. That last part was big. It's the meaning we give something that was meaningless. Wow.
Now, I'm going to show you how to use that in a minute, but let's finish the process.
Okay.
So close your eyes, and I want you to all imagine giving the same events different meaning. So pick one of the alternative interpretations. And for Gucci, we're going to say, I just don't know what I'm doing yet. As soon as I learn how to be my charming self, women will flock to me. And I'm a kid. I don't know, anything yet. And you're actually giving the same events that meaning, or you're giving the same events meaning, my parents have unrealistic expectations. They don't excel at everything. They spill, they drop, they break things. And as you're giving the same events different meaning, do you still have the feeling you're not good enough?
No, it should go away. Yeah.
Well, do it. I want you to actually do it.
Yeah.
So as you're giving the same events different meaning, these girls are crazy. Auntie Shelly says I'm the hottest thing in the world.
Yeah, you're right. No, you know what? It changes the way you feel once you change the way you think about it.
Perfect. Now, everybody take a deep breath. Oh, and if you didn't have that feeling as a kid, would you have that feeling today?
No.
Good. All right. Everybody take a deep breath. Say, I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough.
Does that feel the same or different?
It's different. Yeah, it totally feels different.
And what was beautiful was when you said that why am I holding on to it? And I went back to the step, did you ever see it? And that's when the belief goes away. If I said to you, water bottle, you'd say water bottle. And I'd say, no, it's a bank. It's ceramic. This doesn't do anything. It's filled with money. And you'd say, oh, I never saw a water bottle. I made that up. Tonight, when you come to my house, are you going to take a drink from this?
Yeah.
No, if you know now that it's a bank.
Oh, it's a bank. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I've heard you do? This is so brilliant. And thanks everybody for listening and playing through it. It's really a deep philosophical truth out there that the world's coming from us, not at us. So the way I like to say that is how we label it, right? So that white screen of, the world out there, but how we label, oh, I'm not good enough. Everything you took us through is actually coming from me. It's not coming at me. So if I realize that, then
Before you say that, is it okay if I interrupt?
yeah, you do anything. Yes.
Because I'm going to give you an elegant way of doing it.
Good. Do
Okay.
it.
So you said something brilliant. You said, when I said, where does meaning come from? You said our beliefs.
Yeah.
That's accurate. But it comes from our mind. But if you believe dogs are dangerous and a dog comes into the room, you're going to give it the meaning that dog's going to bite me, and you're going to feel fear.
Yep.
If you believe nothing I do will ever be good enough, you're going to give something the meaning, why bother? And then you're going to procrastinate, right? You're going to feel If so, you're going to feel fear or you're going to feel hopeless, and then you'll procrastinate. Okay. So anytime, I'm going to give you 2 ways to do this. My way, my husband's way. So my husband has a TEDx talk called How to Stop Suffering. Okay.
Nice.
So now, once you get rid of beliefs, Gucci, emotions don't even come up. You get rid of the belief, I'm not important, and one of your employees ignores you. You might say, I don't appreciate being ignored, but you don't feel angry because the belief I'm not important went away. It just will not come up.
Yep.
However, things happen all the time, right? Somebody says something, somebody does something. Anytime you have a negative emotion, stop and ask yourself, what happened? My boss is angry at me, or the high performers. What happened? The deal looks like it's not going to happen. The big deal I'm working on. What meaning am I giving it? We're not going to meet our goal. We're not going to meet our financial goal. And then you get upset. What else could it mean? Come up with one other meaning. Well, it could mean this was not the right partner for you.
Right.
Or, there's another person right in the background with more money who's going to be easier to work with. And it could mean that we have a glitch, but it also doesn't mean the deal's not going to go through. Could mean I need to get creative. The fact that whatever happened that made you think the deal's not going to go through, whatever happened has no inherent meaning.
Yeah.
We don't know anything for sure. Another way of doing it is, I like coming up with one other meaning because it breaks it up as a reality. What happened? The guy just said he's not sure about the money or the deal. What meaning did I give it? Deal's not going to go through. That meaning is in your mind. It is not in the events.
Yeah.
And if you do that, the emotion will go away. Then you could proceed effectively.
So what you're telling me to do is take a pause when I'm starting to feel these emotions come up, like I'm about to lose a deal or this person's going to say no, whatever, and just pause and say, well, what meaning am I giving that? And then watch the emotion.
Well, but first give it another interpretation.
Yeah,
give it another meaning.
Yeah, you got to give it a second interpretation. It's not the fear that I was giving it the first time.
I'll give you a great example. I told you about Mark Hyman's podcast, right?
Yeah.
So this was a big deal, right? To be on a podcast, like it's in the top 100 podcasts.
Great.
So I do the podcast. He shares all this intimate stuff about his work with me and how much it's impacted his.
Beautiful.
And I get off and I go into our occurring course where we teach how to use this little process. And I get a text from Mark, Shell, I think I lost it. I was at a hotel. He wasn't in a studio. And I think I didn't press the right button. And I immediately started to go down the tubes. Oh God, it's never going to be as good next time. Who knows when his schedule is so full. I'm never going to do it. And all of a sudden I said, Shelly, what happened? Mark said he thinks he lost the podcast.
Maybe he didn't.
What meaning? Yeah, maybe he didn't. And that was exactly what I said. Maybe he didn't. And if he did, maybe it'll be better next time.
Nice.
But the fact that just happened has no meaning, right?
Yes.
I do the course. I share it, of course, which was great. 2 minutes before the course ends, he calls me. He says, I got it. It's fine.
See?
And here's what happened. I saved myself all that angst.
Exactly. And that's where we keep replaying these negative tapes in our mind. So I'm going to say this again, because I want to make sure I learn this really well. And everybody should be doing it. We come off something that causes us angst, fear, whatever it is. and we want to stop and say, wait a minute, what meaning am I giving that? And then
that is what just happened.
Right. What just
Before
happened?
I had the emotion.
Yeah. And then go, can I give it a different meaning? And then watch to see what the emotion does. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The emotion will go away. If you get that the event has no meaning, it doesn't mean anything. The meaning
It could have unlimited potential, right? That's every event could have unlimited potential.
That's true. That's true. Even if it's a massive failure, it could teach you something that's going to make you the best entrepreneur in the world.
Yeah.
So we have a book coming out.
Yeah. Tell me about that. What's it called?
My book's coming out in June. It's for entrepreneurs, but it's really for everybody. It's all about this work. And it's called Hitting the Wall, Eliminating the Beliefs That Sabotage Your Business and Your Life.
Wow. Wow.
And if you go to, I know we did this very fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. If you go to eliminatebeliefs.com, you can eliminate a belief for free. And then we have a program where you can work with the most common 19 beliefs. It's called Natural Confidence. And you could do it with video. If you can't work with me or don't want to work, that's fine. But just know that anytime you feel like a victim or like something terrible is happening, just remember that your beliefs are causing the problems that you're having in your life, and you can get rid of them. And when you get rid of them, there's a freedom. I have thousands of testimonials where people say, I'm free. Yeah. And that's what you want in life. And the other thing, please remember, water all the plants. Being a high performer is great, but nobody ever dies going, wow, I was a high performer. Exactly. They die saying, I wish I spent more time having fun, taking care of myself, having friends, being with family, doing the things that are really meaningful in life. Have your business or your sport or whatever it is be a game. It's a game. That's all it is. You're going to win, you're going to lose. Some day you can score points, some days you lose points. That's the game.
Wow, Shelly, I'm glad you brought it home like that. First off, eliminatingbeliefs.com. I'm going to go there. I'm going to take you up on your free offer. I hope everybody does. Your new book, Hitting the Wall. God, we all need that, right? How we can overcome those limiting beliefs. Give me a couple as we wrap up here, rapid fire here now. Okay. You said there's 19 beliefs, but I'm going to ask you a question and tell me what you've learned about that. So let's say I'm critical, I criticize a lot, or I judge a lot. What is that telling you? How do I overcome that tendency?
Generally, that's I'm not good enough, so I have to, put other people down to feel better about myself. I have to be in control in order, I have to control things, or, it could be a myriad of beliefs. But if you criticize people, it's generally self-esteem beliefs.
Okay.
What about that? I'm not as smart as others. Yeah.
Okay. What about the one, because you mentioned about fear of making mistakes, on the Blue Angels, we actually would debrief and we would lay our mistakes on the table because we did want to let everybody know, hey, I was off right here. I acknowledge it. I can fix it. We say, glad to be here. So how do you overcome, or what are some of the trends for people who may be fearful about making mistakes?
Mistakes and failures are bad. If I make a mistake or fail, I'll be rejected. If I make a mistake, I'm a failure. What makes me good enough is doing things perfectly. What makes me good enough are my achievements.
Oh, I love it. So you got to flip those. Those are the limiting beliefs we got to get rid of with that process that you told me about. Any others that, are really affect a lot of people that you want to share? Then I want to ask you two final questions.
Yeah, no, just the ones that I shared. I mean, self-esteem beliefs can be, I had a guy come to me recently who cheated on his wife. I love my wife. I don't want to cheat. And he had what I call the Bill Clinton belief. I'm not lovable. I'm not worth loving because his mother was never around when he was a kid. What makes me worth loving is having women want me. So you constantly need that. What makes me, another one is money. What makes me good enough is having a lot of money. And no matter how much money you have, you still don't feel good enough. It's never enough.
Okay, I love it. Hey, I got one really powerful takeaway: water all the plants. But are there any other sayings or mantras that you live your life by or want to share with others that you found really, really inspire you?
God. Yeah, my mother, I always told my kids, life is like a yardstick. Most people live somewhere in the first 2 feet, 11 3/4 inches. And you'll love this, high performers. What life's about is that last 1/4 of an inch.
Oh, I've
That's
never
what makes life hot and juicy,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
God, I just went blank with all my I have so many of those that inspire me. But here's what inspires me. What you do interests people. Who you are inspires them.
Nice. That's good. What you do interests people. Who you are, that authentic self, is what inspires. That gets me to my last question, and I always end on this, is this idea of gratitude. Glad to be here. You can see I'm wearing my glad to be here shirt. I find the power of gratitude is so important. How do you see gratitude in your work?
Every day of my life. Every day of my life. I wake up. I always tell my clients, look left, look right. You can, God, we had a little weird thing happen in one of my trainings. Was supposed to fill, and 5 people or 6 people had emergencies, and I went, okay, that happened, right? Don't give it meaning, it just happened. I did a webinar where I just did what I did with you with 750 people, and we sold so far over $20,000 first day of natural confidence of this program, right? Yes. And I started to say, oh, that should have been extra money. It should have made our, year better. And instead, it's just making up for it. And what I did was I immediately go into gratitude. And I said, I am so grateful that I had that to make up for the deficit, as opposed to it should have been extra, right? So when you, for me, every time I start to feel sorry. Now, I haven't met anybody yet, right? And I'm putting it out there. I would love to meet a fabulous man. I want young, vital, healthy, amazing, zest for life guy, and conscious. He has to be conscious and awake. And I haven't met that person yet, right? And so I go, oh, and then all of a sudden I go, wait a minute. I have friends. I have health. I can do anything. And I sit there and I go, I have my healthy kids. I have a healthy grandchild. I have friends. I live in the most beautiful place. I live in Northern California in the Bay Area. I live in the most gorgeous place in the world. I have hikes, and I have so much to be grateful for. And there's a missing. So it's not that I'm not acknowledging that there's a missing, but the gratitude in 2 seconds gets me out of it.
Nice. I had a friend of mine once say, he quoted about beliefs, and I wish I asked this earlier, but we can wrap on this, is that human beings, we don't perform at our full potential. His name was Lou Tice. What we perform at is a belief level. So if you're able to elevate your beliefs, your performance will follow, right? What do you think about that?
I think it's actually absolutely true. it's the old, what's his name used to say, if you believe you can, you can. And if you believe you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right.
Right.
Your
Right.
beliefs are everything, if I said to you, now, I don't know how many high performers listening to me know Bill Gates, but if I said to you, Bill Gates has the belief, there's only so much money one person could have, would you believe me? And
No.
everybody says no. And I said, and you don't know Bill Gates, but he doesn't have that belief.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Shelly, thanks for taking us through a process that helps each and every one of us overcome and eliminate those limiting beliefs. This has been a joy. You are awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Total fun.
Glad to be here.